Welcome to the Co-Teaching Foundational Training webinar, hosted by your Directors of Field Experience, Allison Boggs and Ashley Carton from CU Boulder. We have a few goals for today. We'd like to briefly highlight some history on co-teaching, to share a little bit about the benefits of this model, introduce the 7 co-teaching strategies and share some examples of how that might be taken up in a classroom, and highlight the various roles and responsibilities of the co-teaching. Many of the materials in our co-teaching model have been inspired and adapted from the St. Cloud University Academy of Co-Teaching and Collaboration. We're going to talk a little bit about the research that this university did to highlight some of the benefits and structures of the co-teaching strategy, as well as the strategies themselves and how you might use them in the classroom. We know that many co-teaching in a variety of ways or maybe participated in to some extent. So really quickly, we'd just like to share that co-teaching has a deep history in education and had begun around the special education initiatives, and a lot of the initial research has come from that environment. We also want to share a few citations of co-teaching if you'd like to learn more about its history and research around what its design looked like and how it's moved into more of an inclusive classroom. For us, co-teaching is defined as 2 teachers, which are the mentor teacher and the teacher candidate, working together with one group of students. So this for secondary might be various periods, or for elementary, this is working with your one classroom of students. A big shift between the more traditional version and the co-teaching model is that both teachers are actively involved and engaged in all aspects of instruction from day one. And we'll talk a little bit more of what that looks like with the strategies and how that fits into CU's gradual release of responsibility. The main point here is that both of you, both the mentor teacher and the teacher candidate, are feeling like we are actively teaching and teaching at all times. Traditionally, there has been no formal method for preparing teacher candidates and mentor teachers to work together professionally. So we like this model because it's very intentional and asks that the mentor teacher and teacher candidate be trained in co-teaching and really think deeply about the importance of relationship building and communication to support student learning in the classroom and the learning of our teacher candidate.
Between the teacher candidate creating a lesson plan by themselves in isolation, and then handing it in for revisions, and then finally delivering the instruction. In co-teaching, both are co-planning together, and the teacher candidate begins teaching the very first day. The role of lead teacher is shared throughout the entire semester. The teacher candidate and the mentor teacher both plan lessons together throughout the experience, with the mentor teacher leading early in the experience and the teacher candidate taking the lead as the experience progresses.
So traditionally, the mentor teacher expects that the teacher candidate will come prepared to prepare these lessons and use a variety of instructional strategies to fully manage the classroom on their own. However, we know that you as a mentor teacher are master teachers. We've picked you to be a mentor teacher because you have extensive experience and knowledge to guide our teacher candidate in learning all the ins and outs of the classroom. Our teacher candidates come to you having a wide variety of experiences. However, they might have only tried structures and strategies once or twice in their preparation. So the co-teaching model is really supportive for our teacher candidates because they get the opportunity to learn and grow with you and not always have to do this in isolation. Now, there is a soloing period, which we will discuss later in the webinar, and that's an opportunity for our candidates towards the end of the semester really show what they've learned. But up until that point, the co-teaching model can be very supportive and allows our teacher candidates to grow and get more leadership and take more responsibility while learning and growing with you. It's important to notice that there is always a power differential between the teacher candidate and the mentor teacher. However, what we like about the co-teaching model is that it's very much intended to be mitigated and minimized. So The co-teaching model allows for the teacher candidate to be seen more as the real teacher with their students and have a handle on their curriculum rather than feeling like they're guests in the classroom. So there are many benefits to the co-teaching model, many of which are listed here, and some of which I will share in a few moments from the St. Cloud research. But above all, many mentor teachers will say that they really like the enhanced ability to meet student needs in a large and diverse classroom, and that it really allows them to be present and think deeply about their instruction with their students and not have to leave or give up the classroom. So one of the goals of the St. Cloud State study that we talk about here is that they really wanted to understand the effects of co-teaching and how that affected student performance. And so they studied 856 pairs in a Minnesota public school system and across preschool all the way through 12th grade. And that study looked at student outcomes for over 35,000 students. Really briefly, we just wanted to share a little bit about these assessments and what they found as they compared co-teaching versus non-co-teaching. So they looked at two assessments, the Minnesota Comprehensive Assessment and the Woodcock-Johnson, for reading and for math. And you'll notice across the 4 years which they studied, each time the pattern shows that the proficiency in reading is highest in the co-teaching structure versus just having one mentor teacher alone, and the lowest in terms of reading proficiency in the traditional student teaching method where the student teacher teaches on their own and not alongside the mentor teacher. You'll find in year 3 they didn't have enough data to analyze, but in year 4 the pattern is very similar, with the co-teaching candidate having the highest scores for reading proficiency across those pairs. In math, it's the same across those 4 years. The highest scores are in the co-teaching partnership and followed by the one single mentor teacher, the expert teacher, followed by the more traditional student teaching method. And the pattern remains the same. In addition to looking at proficiency scores, the St. Cloud research also looked at some narratives and some perspectives of mentor teachers, teacher candidates, and student learners in the model. And they also used focus groups consisting of kindergarten to 12th graders and asked them what their experiences were like in the co-teaching method. And they stated that they felt very positive about it. They were able to work in smaller groups, they had fewer class disruptions, they got their questions answered faster, and also had assessments returned faster. It was overall a very positive experience for the students. The same goes for the teacher candidates. They were surveyed about their perspectives of student teaching within the co-teaching model, and they expressed that overall they felt highly supported. They had more teaching time, deeper understanding of the curriculum, and more opportunities to reflect, among many other factors. The candidates themselves felt it was a very positive method to student teach in. For mentor teachers, they too felt professional growth. They expressed that they were able to host a teacher candidate without feeling like they had to step away or give up the classroom and their students. They felt more in touch with their class and the learning that was occurring at all times, which also relieves some of the pressure that mentor teachers often feel in relation to preparing their students for high-stakes testing. St. Cloud State's research also followed some of the teachers into the first 3 years of their teaching career, and these new teachers shared that they were able to better differentiate instruction, they felt comfortable sharing and collaborating with other teachers in professional settings, and sought out opportunities to reflect.
These are the critical players. This is what we call the triad. In every student teaching situation, there's a student teacher, there's a mentor teacher, and a university supervisor. Mentor teachers have a variety of roles in the triad. They help the teacher candidate feel welcome and comfortable. They share materials and ideas. They mentor and guide the teacher candidate. They have to be flexible, allowing the teacher candidate to try new ideas. And for a co-teaching model, they also understand and implement the 7 co-teaching strategies. University supervisors are the people who are experienced teachers and principals who come in from the university to provide a consistent presence during the student teaching experience. They observe and provide feedback on a regular basis. They set clear expectations and are honest about the teacher candidate's performance. They handle difficult situations that might come up. And they're knowledgeable and supportive of the use of the 7 co-teaching strategies. Our teacher candidates come ready to learn. They're enthusiastic and show initiative. They ask questions and discuss professional issues. They plan engaging, standards-based lessons. They're proactive in initiating communication. And they need to be patient with themselves and their cooperating teacher. And in the co-teaching environment, we want them to understand and implement the 7 co-teaching strategies. Here they are. One, teach, one, observe. For this strategy, it's required that the observer has a specific purpose for their observation, either watching a student specifically or learning new specific teacher behaviors or offering feedback on specific teacher behaviors. In this strategy, one teacher has the primary instructional responsibility while the other gathers specific information. Station teaching. In this strategy, the co-teaching pair divide the instructional content into parts. And they might even choose the parts where they specifically assist students by determining which ones require the most supervision. One teach, one assist. In this strategy, one teacher has the primary instructional responsibility while the other assists students with their work, monitors behaviors, or corrects assignments. Parallel teaching. This approach can be used with any type of lesson. The 2 teachers divide the class and teach the same instructional material and use the same strategies. The benefit to this strategy is just reducing the student-teacher ratio. Supplemental teaching. This strategy allows one teacher to work with students at their expected grade level, while the other teacher works with those students who need the information extended or remediated. One teacher is working with the majority of the class on proofreading their stories, for example, while the other teacher pulls 5 students for a remedial lesson on punctuation. Alternative and differentiated teaching. In this strategy, alternative teaching strategies provide 2 different approaches to teaching the same information. The learning outcome is the same for all students, however, the avenue for getting there is different. Team teaching. Team teaching lessons are well planned. They exhibit an invisible flow of information in instruction with no prescribed division of authority. Both teachers are actively involved in the lesson. From a student's perspective, there's no clearly defined leader, as both teachers share the instruction, are free to interject information, and available to assist students and answer questions. Both teachers are seamlessly presenting a poetry lesson and co-reading The Raven, for example. Throughout the discussion, both teachers are asking questions about the different poetry devices. There's no hierarchy. The 7 co-teaching strategies are not sequential and do not build upon one another. Teams can start with any model. There's a number of links. Here's a couple of links for you from YouTube to watch co-teaching in action. There's a lot of other ones as well.
Really briefly, we'd like to discuss how the co-teaching model looks within our gradual release of responsibility here at CU. So in this graphic, you'll notice that there are yellow blocks that grow larger throughout the weeks. What that means is our teacher candidate will be getting and taking on more and more leadership and responsibility as the co-teaching model shifts. So what that means is in the co-teaching model, you have the lead and you also have the supporting co-teacher. In the lead, the mentor teacher will be co-teaching, co-planning, and co-assessing with the teacher candidate in the very beginning from day 1. However, the mentor teacher will be the primary decision maker. They will be the driver for almost all of the decisions in instruction in the very beginning. So for weeks 1 through 4, the teacher candidate will be actively engaged in teaching from day 1. However, they will be assisting, tutoring, and observing, maybe in 1 assist, 1 observe, 1 teach, 1 assist, 1 teach, and 1 observe, and slowly acclimating and becoming used to the classroom those first few weeks. By week 4, our mentor teacher will be allowing our teacher candidate to take on at least 50% of the lead in the decision making for planning, teaching, and assessment, and will be increasingly growing their responsibility from weeks 4 to weeks 8. Around week 8 is the midterm, and that's the middle of the semester for our student teachers. That's around the time that you'll be meeting as a triad to discuss the progress of our teacher candidate, how they're doing, and plan and negotiate the soloing period. So for CU Boulder, we suggest and recommend around 1 to 3 weeks of soloing, and that can come in the second half of the semester. So around the midterm, you'll be discussing the progress of the teacher candidate and scheduling and structuring what that soloing period will look like, the length of it, and when you plan to start it and end it. And build your co-teaching opportunities around that soloing period. But around week 8, you'll be ramping up and allowing the teacher candidate to be the driver, to be the lead in co-teaching 85 to 100% of the time in the planning, teaching, and assessment portion of instruction, and all of the responsibilities that come with being a teacher. So around week 8, our teacher candidates should be feeling the full weight of what it's like to be a lead teacher in a classroom. And lastly, we'd like to share some stages of concern for our teacher candidates. For many of you that have had a student teacher, this will be familiar to you, but we wanted to highlight some key strategies or timings and concerns of our teacher candidates as they progress throughout the semester. So we have the pre-teaching concern, the survival concerns, the teaching situation concerns, and the pupil concerns. Now these are not entirely hierarchical, but you will find that in the pre-teaching concerns, those will occur in the earlier stages of their student teaching semester, and as they progress and take on more of a leadership role, their concerns will be more directed towards thinking about all of their students and making sure that they're all learning. So to wrap up, we'd like for you to take a moment to see if you can review all of the 7 co-teaching strategies. How many can you remember? And as you review, take a moment to think to yourself, which strategies are you comfortable trying right now?
Thank you so much for your participation in our webinar. We'll see you in the classrooms.